Hi everyone, we are talking today to Justine Beirne. Justine is the founder and owner of Jumpstart Talent and the Amadeus app. She's personally placed more than 500 employees at companies like Microsoft, Fox Studios, Beyond Limits, and many more. Justine provides career transformation advice as well as how to manifest the career of your dreams. Our episode today is all about how to make recruiters see you. This is the definitive guide for all job seekers out there. If you've ever wondered why your application seems to vanish into a black hole, or how to truly stand out in a saturated job market, you are in the right place, my friends. Justine has over 10 years of executive recruitment experience, and she has the inside scoop. Let's dive in. Hello, I'm your host Dorothy Mashburn, and welcome to Salary Negotiations Made Simple. Here I show you how negotiating does not have to be overwhelming. I break the entire process of negotiating into easy-to-learn steps that you can use in any salary negotiation situation. Whether you're starting a new job or preparing to ask for a raise, expect to receive practical, actionable strategies that are based on real-life experiences. I'll be sharing tips that have been proven to work, where professionals like you have netted anywhere from $10,000 to $75,000 more in compensation. It's payment for the skills you already bring, so you need to know how to ask for payment for that value. Are you ready to learn how to boost your earnings? Let's dive in. Hi, Justine. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Dorothy? Nice to have you. Nice to see you.
You too. Where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from Warwick, New York. My office is here.
You'll have to come visit me one day in Phoenix.
I absolutely love Arizona, so I would be
Yeah.
more than happy to. Yeah,
Yeah. So can we start with a little bit of an introduction? Who you are, what do you do, how do you help, etc.?
absolutely. My name is Justine Beirne. I'm the founder of Jumpstart Talent. We're a boutique executive search firm in generative AI. I have a background in philosophy, and then I moved on into executive search about a little more than a decade ago, and I founded my company 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does generative AI do and how is it shaping or changing careers and job searches as we know it?
Well, I think one of the key points of generative AI, and I love data in general. So for many years, I was placing data scientists, then I was placing machine learning engineers, and now I'm placing generative AI research engineers. And so your data scientists we're all using mathematics, right? The beauty of mathematics, which is a discrete science, which I love. Your data scientists are going to describe what happened in the past really, really well, better than anybody else can, down to the absolute minutia of differentials, what happened. And your machine learning engineers are going to take that information about what happened and they're going to predict what your data will be in the future, right? So your data science is like, oh, here's what happened. Your machine learning engineers are like, here's what's likely to happen. And then your generative AI engineers are like, I'm just going to create the data of the future. I'm not going to predict what the next data set is. Here's your data set. I created the data set. I looked at the past. I made some inferences about the past. I integrated like a neural network model. And now here's the data you need for the next step. We don't need to generate data through experience. We are going to generate data a priori. So it's amazing because now you have these so that image that's generated is a data set that didn't exist before. It's not like machine learning is telling you, hey, the next image in this pattern is going to be a blue cat, right? And then a blue cat emerges out of a naturally occurring pattern. Generative AI just says, here's your blue cat that you wanted. There's no need for it to kind of occur. And I think that's the real difference that I see as a layman working, as placing in
Yeah.
generative AI, but that's why it's a mind-blowing field of study.
Right. Right. And how have you kept up with this? Clearly you are very passionate about it, but how do you even know where to start with this ever-changing landscape? What's your secret?
I I'm super humbled every day. I spoke to somebody who what he does is he like creates the camera angles for imaginary cameras for VFX. So like if there were a camera here, what would that camera see? Generative image, not there is a camera here, what did it see, right? And if that camera existed on every point in space for 360, and I've got to be honest, so I'm interviewing him for a very large role, and in the middle of the interview, I said, I am not smart enough to understand this. I need you to bring it all the way down as if you came home from work and you were explaining it to your kids, you know? And he was like, gotcha. And so I think a tremendous amount of humility when you're dealing with absolute experts is kind of the key.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow it doesn't falter you or your confidence level. How is that?
I think I studied a lot of philosophy at the undergraduate and graduate level, and I believe that philosophy is just reasoning from first principles. So I think that if I can get it down to the first principles, then I can understand it because it's all going to come down to symbolic logic. So yeah, so I was lucky to be trained well in symbolic logic.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
does that mean that you can figure it out so it doesn't, when you are feeling humbled, you don't feel like it's racking your confidence because when you bring it down to first principles, you can figure it out.
it, it is going to be discreetly understandable, right? If I might need to bite it in teeny tiny pieces, but it's a discrete problem that can be understood, right?
Yeah.
So then I can do it. Now, if it were something like in the creative world that can have a multiplicity of answers, I think I would personally have a harder time feeling
Yeah.
that I could grasp it. But if it's a discrete problem, I know I can break that down and work that out.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
let me ask you a little, changing gears a little bit. Many of the job seekers who are looking for jobs out there, they tell me that the hardest thing is to listen or get recruiters to pay attention to them, or a hiring manager to open the door for them. What advice do you have for those individuals?
That's a great question. I will lead again with humility. I think what job seekers need to understand, I'm trying to look straight to the camera like I'm on an
Yeah.
episode of The Office because this is really important, is that when you're working with a recruiter, that person is probably going to have to speak to about 40 people a week just to hit their KPIs and get their clients well serviced, right? So this is a person that is chopping up their hours into 15 and 20-minute intervals, and that type of one-on-one interaction is taxing if you're doing it right. If you're really connecting with someone, it does take like a personal amount of energy to connect with people and to give them the attention that they deserve in their 15 minutes. So having a real understanding of the humanity behind what HR is doing will allow you to say, hey, listen, I just wanted to float this to the top of your email, and if there's anything you need for me to make it easier for you to present this to line, tell me. That humility is better than following up on my email, which I sent 3 days, and if I can sense that I'm a human doing a job, I'm going to move heaven and earth for you. The minute I feel like you have forgotten that I'm a human doing a job, it's going to be hard for me to want to fight for you because you've also got to work with other humans who are doing jobs when you get a job with my client. So if you're not leading with that type of empathy and humility, how are you going to treat the people you work with too? And
Mhm.
that's such a key. And it's not a thought. It's more of a feeling when you see that number on your phone or that name in your email. You get that feeling of, or, oh, this is my girl. She knows, she gets it. She's going to give me the resume in the right format and we're going to do this. It's a feeling and you want to create that warmth. Goodwill begets goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What an important, simple but important thing to remember. Because, yeah, I've done that, right? Hey, following up, what's up? And not really thinking about the other person. And it's easy to do when we're trying to do so much.
Yeah, of course. And it's so important. There are very few areas of life that are so critical to our personal identity. Maybe your personal life and your family and your career. So
Yeah.
when you feel like that aspect of your life is hanging in the balance, it's very hard to take a kind of empathetic approach, because it's very important, and it should be very important to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you then reconcile, there's a lot of advice or gurus out there talking about how to overcome the ATS or, so is that important as a recruiter? What do you think?
I think you just have to get into it. A lot You don't really need to beat the ATS, you just can't get trapped by it. So, for example, I noticed when I was doing some internal work for Microsoft that if you had any type of images on your resume, you would end up in our incomplete file. I think we were on iCIMS, right? And good practices, best practices, is to treat every person in every file exactly the same way. So either you're in our submitted file or our reviewed file or our interviewing file, but as you move through the files, you really want to treat everyone the same way. That's what ethics and kindness dictates. So if you've accidentally added an image or a hyperlink and I've applied to 50 jobs at Microsoft that I'm perfect for. Yeah, but that resume you've got might have you in that incomplete file because it didn't auto-populate properly. And when I go into action that file and there's 100 of them in there for the role I'm working on, I have to action every single one of those 100. So it's a lot to do. If I don't go into the incompletes, if I say I'm not looking at incomplete, that's on them. They should have sent in a complete resume. I'm only going from this file forward. Well, then I've treated them all in the same way. But the minute I go in there for one, now I have to ethically action all of them. So it's a big ask. So you just have to get into it properly, into the ATS properly.
Mm-hmm.
After that, your recruiter's really they're going to look at you. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess then there is not a one size fits all, right? Like because there's a lot of questions in LinkedIn or job sites where should I reach out to the recruiter before submitting my resume, after submitting my resume, when do I show up as a human being? Is there any kind of best practice there?
You are going to get an auto-generated email once you're in, so you know you're in. And maybe I know that when I'm working internally, like when I'm working with Flawless or Kyber or even Microsoft, I would usually do a batch on Wednesdays and a batch on Fridays, right? Just like all my new resumes, let's get them action. So, assume your recruiter's going to do like a big action day, an audit, moving everyone forward twice a week. So if you've gotten through a whole week, all right, maybe it's time to say, hey, listen, I just want to let you know. Or if you're using a third party recruiter, and you really want the job, say, hey, listen, I don't know what happened, but I know we went in. I'm sure she's taken a look at it. Can you just ask for feedback?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's more like common sense, right? You like try to think about the other person, think about their workload, and then reach out accordingly.
And know that they really want to action you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really want every resume I open to be the one,
Yeah.
you
That's a
know?
good point. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
what I'm sure you work with both men and women. My audience or our audience is primarily women. 2 to 3 obstacles you can think of that women run into when trying to get to the next level.
I have one that I've been saying in my head a lot, and I've only said it to a few candidates, but I call it the say gap instead of the pay gap. And I think that I think this is the only answer I'm going to give to this question because I want to like dig into it a little.
Yeah.
So I was running a CFO search for a very large commercial real estate company in Los Angeles. And they needed someone who'd handled like a Chapter 11 bankruptcy restructuring. And I had a female and a male candidate for the role. The male candidate said, well, I've only done it once, but let me tell you, had I not been the person leading that company, they would have never recovered. So I know that I can do it for this company. And the female candidate said, I've only done it once, so they probably want somebody who's got more experience. Same exact experience. And so we talk about the pay gap. We talk about, I think we're at 22%, in earnings, but the say gap is real. The say gap of when you can hear how people are willing to position their experience, you would feel comfortable really patting yourself on the back. And I've noticed this. I don't think there's like a one size, every woman is this way or every man is this way, but I've noticed this more with female candidates who even like, I helped write the resume of the first woman to design like a supercar. So she designed the Acura NSX. And inside of her resume, she was an automobile designer, groundbreaking, first time female, phenomenal woman in STEM. And her resume was about how well she nurtured and guided the junior level men who worked for her. Not how much money she made the company, not how much she saved on the project, not how many days on time, you know? Well, she thought, well, that's obvious. I did it. So these are the warmth, these are the skill, these are the things I'm proud of. The things I'm proud of is that I helped this guy get a promotion and I helped, you know, and it was the verbiage on her resume was very warm and frankly very feminine. And we worked to really expound upon some of those more traditionally masculine bullet points like spearheaded, led, executed, those types of words, and then really getting into the numbers. Here's what I made the company, here's what I saved the company in time, here's our sales numbers, here's the size of an organization that I led, which is not a given. Those are bragging points, you know? And so I think I'm only going to answer with one obstacle. I think if we could beat one obstacle, that's the obstacle.
Yeah. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually didn't expect that big of a immediate discrepancy in using the same data sets and presenting such disparate pitches from there.
Yeah.
What do
And
you
it comes
say
up
to
when
someone?
oh,
I'm sorry. What do you say to
no,
someone
I'm sorry.
to get over that obstacle? Or how far is that? How big is that obstacle to overcome?
It depends. Are we one on one on a conversation? Because then I will literally say, girl, do you know? Do you know what other candidates who have done less than you are saying about themselves? Like, I'm going to send you to the CEO and I'm going to tell them they need to talk to you. But when you walk in that door, you better be bragging, you
Yeah.
know? But if it's on a broader scale, I would be less direct, I think. But
Yeah.
one on one, I would literally say, like, don't hold back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think bragging as we are growing up as women, girls, bragging is seen as such a negative. We shy so clear out of it.
Yes. But I had Beirne as my dad, which is I was very lucky because he taught me this expression. If you can really do it, then it ain't bragging.
Yeah.
So like if you can really run your mile time in this time, then you're not bragging, you're just reporting.
Yeah.
And so that if you I always tell them if you can do it, it ain't bragging. So go do it.
Yeah.
And I fathers with daughters, you know, women with daughters, this is it. Tell them if you can stand on what you're saying, then
Yeah.
do not be afraid to say it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. It's not bragging, it's reporting. That is
Yep.
a great little mantra you can repeat to yourself if you ever feel like
Yeah.
you're self-doubting.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you had a great parent who gave you some real good nuggets. What is your secret sauce to help unblock other people when they run into maybe the say gap or the any other obstacles? So what is the secret sauce you provide them?
I think everything comes down to self-worth in the workplace. And I think the best way to help people to boost up their self-worth is to connect with them like heart to heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret sauce. Like this is a person and if you have just one person who's like telling you you can totally do this, that changes the way you go about doing it, right? So that's my secret sauce.
Yeah. You connect with
I'm
them.
like the connect with them and then cheerlead the heck. Say to them what you wish somebody would say to you in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you reach out to people who you know you can help with your mantra or your secret sauce and you receive skepticism, what how are you feeling then? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I guess I feel a little sad because I really want to help people. And if you can see somebody a little bit standing in their own way and you know that you can just get them over that hurdle, you feel a little sad because once they break through, it's going to be smooth sailing on the other side. So yeah, that's how I feel. But at the same time, because this is a holistic and human approach and almost a spiritual approach, people have to do things at their own pace. And so you just kind of stay available and say, when you're ready, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. And I think, another guest on my show was talking about how we think about spending money on ourselves as an expense versus an investment. And it's our own mindset that keeps us there.
Have you ever had that experience where you're walking through the mall and you see an outfit on a mannequin and you're like, yes, that's good. And then you find a million reasons why you shouldn't go in and try it on?
Yes. Yes.
And I actually, I was in the mall today and I did that and I was like, oh, I don't want to, and it was like a bright green top with these beautiful white tailored pants, right? And I was like, I don't want to attract that much attention. That's why I'm not going to try that on. Well, now I literally forced myself to go in there because it's almost like you hold yourself back
Yeah.
instead of building yourself. Let me use these clothes to build it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What a good analogy. What advice do you have for our listeners? One thing that they can do after listening to this episode?
Hmm. Well, if you don't have a practice of personally connecting with yourself, whatever way you want that to be, and I'm not even going to give you examples of ways, but create a way to connect directly with yourself so you can be your own counsel, create your own self-worth, and develop a real mission for what you want to do, not what other people think you want to do, but what you want to do. And once you have that, then you work the practical steps to get it. And if it is a discrete problem to solve, you can work any matter of practical steps to get it. But you've got to create that relationship with yourself where you know exactly what it is you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. This is why
Yeah.
every single coach starts with mindset, I think, right? Because that is the big,
Yep.
even though it sounds like a buzzword anymore, but it is so true about that relationship with yourself.
Yeah. And it daily because yourself changes.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, oh, I went on a retreat 2 years ago. I really spoke to myself and then turn it off. You daily. How does this sit with me? What's the next step? How can I improve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great advice. Any words on manifesting your dream career? Like what do you do in it?
Oh, it's basically a lot of the things I talked about. So the first couple of modules are about inner work, self-worth work, and vision work, mission work. And then after that, you start really working the practical steps. Like, how do we make this resume the right sales document for that vision we just created? How do we optimize our LinkedIn profile for that vision that we now
Mm,
know is really it? Not like a haphazard, maybe this will work, but like that's a clear vision. And then I teach people how to map the market like they're their own executive recruiter. Find the competitors, find the people who actually would be so stoked to get your new resume because that's what they're looking for. And they can be competitors of your current role or people who are employing the person you want to be next. But how to map that market just like a recruiter would if they were working for you
mm.
and had to sell you.
Yeah, manifesting
All
your
right.
dream career.
That's it. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll work on the practical things like resume, LinkedIn, mapping the market. And then, every person who's a part of the course will get, access to me and to the community so that if you do have that big interview, you've got those cheerleaders behind you to say, go do it.
Yeah.
Go, we're with you. And you can prep, you can practice, you know, and really get the job you really want because it's important. We spend a lot of time there.
Yeah. And is it
Yeah.
usually a group program or in one-on-one or both?
I take about 83 at a time.
Okay.
And then I have personal interaction with every member of the group, and then there can be a community aspect as well, depending on if that's what everybody wants to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll put all the links in the show notes so people know how to find you.
I'm so happy we got a chance to chat. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming. And I know we'll see great things from you, all the great business ideas you've got going.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you soon.
See ya. There you have it, my friends. Real nuts and bolts advice from an executive recruiter who has seen it all. From the art of being unforgettable to best practices on following up, and even the age-old question of how many jobs should I really apply to. I hope you wrote down all the answers to all your burning questions. Thanks for listening, and bye for now. If you're ready to rise up and get paid for your worth, be sure to get the free salary negotiation training at DorothyMashburn.com/fight for your worth. This is the ultimate step-by-step guide in order to help you secure a promotion or break the glass ceiling. Again, it's at DorothyMashburn.com/fight for your worth. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.